Oh, let's see.
Hey, and we are live. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Yeah, I haven't, I don't think I've dual streamed on YouTube yet. So
I
this
have
is a
never,
first.
yeah, no, this is definitely a first for me. Never done this before, and I'm so excited. Let's see how this, I'm just gonna pop this up real quick so I can see how it's looking.
Okay.
Hey, friends. I'm over here reading the chats. What's going on? What's going on, friends? Let me see. Oh, hold on a second. Why does it still say that it's not loaded? I'm offended.
Is YouTube being a hater today?
I think so, because we have, okay, I guess it shows a completely different link to just go live from.
Alrighty.
Well then, it's fine. We've got our friends here. Hey, let me just hit this then. I try to, use technology and schedule it in advance, and instead it decided to open up another link for us, but we're all good. We're live. And we have our friends here in the chat. What's going on, friends? What's going on? Got Sharia in the building. Oh, Weenie from Montreal. Hi,
Ooh.
Daniela. Okay, Daniela from Connecticut is in the building. That's my family. Hey, Jay Clark. How is everybody doing? Hope you
The
all,
Mercury retrograde. Yeah.
I swear. When is that over? I keep hearing that everything is because of Mercury retrograde, but when is that over?
I have no idea. I never really started paying attention to it until like this year because everybody kept mentioning it on social media. And I'm like, it has to be something because technology has just not been my friend this year.
Right. I'm not sure that I know what it is, but I mean, if I could blame everything on that, then that's what I'm doing. It's Mercury retrograde. Period.
Exactly.
Right. But hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having an amazing hump day. Happy Wednesday. So today we are on live with Miss AttiQuewa Green. If you guys don't know who she is, you 100% should know who she is. But I'm going to let AttiQuewa give a little bit of an intro as to who she is before we dive into today's call.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is AttiQuewa, as Lynn said. I am a women's financial coach, and I've been in the finance industry for over 12 years. At this point in my career, I specifically help the overthinking, procrastinating, perfectionist woman get their finances together because I am her and she is me, and I know that I have my tribe out there somewhere. And, at this point, I've also helped 5,000 women start and maintain their wealth building journey. So I'm really excited about being able to come on here and talk to you guys today because there's a lot of information out here that could help you, especially if your brain works like mine.
Absolutely. I love that. That OPP, that is me as well. I feel like there's so many of us. So many of us are like high operators, but we still have our downfalls from time to time. So I love that
Yes.
you cater to the OPP. It's the what is it? Procrastinating and
Overthinking, procrastinating, and perfectionism.
overthinking. Yes. Overthinker, the perfectionist, and the procrastinator. I love that.
Yes.
And a little intro on me, if you don't know who I am, guys. I am Lynn Allure. Let me not, because when someone asks you to say who you are, introduce yourself, suddenly you forget everything that you are. But
Yes.
I'm sure if you guys are on today's live, you probably have a little bit of insight into who I am. But serial entrepreneur, corporate dropout, left my project accounting career to do my own entrepreneurial thing and live off of entrepreneurship and investments full time. And now I'm on a mission to help as many people as I possibly can, especially my ladies, to get right with their finances so you can do more of what you love with more of who you love and just live a life you've always desired. So that's a little rundown on me in case you're new here and you're not too sure who I be. But before we dive into today's call, because we're going to be talking about how to get started on your financial journey and some tips that could be helpful as well, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a little bit of an icebreaker. So I have a question for anyone who's in the chat. Cassie, Empress, Alex Blue, Ruby, everybody. I want to know, and you too, AttiQuewa, if you were given the chance to choose between two things, either an additional $1 million today or an additional $10,000 every single week for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
So I'm gonna go up front with the money, like give me the lump sum, just because you don't know what the future holds. And $1 million lump sum right now could be a huge difference in real estate properties, putting it in the market, whether you're trading or investing, that you can, pass down. So if something happens to you before you're able to make that $1 million from the 10,000 weekly payments.
I completely agree. I 100% agree. I want to hear what these, okay. So we have $10,000 a week. Hey, Emily. We have, so far, almost everyone is saying $10,000 a week. Iris, Cassie, Lady of Light, Nana, Classic B. Cheryl says she would take the lump sum. Ruby said 10 grand a week. I would agree with you, AttiQuewa, and I would take the $1 million up front. Reason being two things. First of all, we don't know how long we're going to be around. What if I take the $10,000 a week and I only got 2 more months,
Right.
Then I only got 80 grand. And then also, I think if you have a lump sum of $1 million right away, you can turn it into $10,000 a week on your own, and then still have some left over and still have some that you can pass down onto future generations as well. But the issue is a lot of people don't have $1 million to start. So a lot of people wouldn't be able to turn $1 million into $10,000 a week because they don't
This is true.
Yeah, they don't have the million startup, the million capital to start with. So if I was given the opportunity, I'm taking $1 million today and let me turn it into my own cash flow moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I would probably say if, people didn't have like a background in finance or they didn't know where to start, definitely take those two options heavy into consideration because there are broke millionaires out here. So you don't want to get all that money and then you say, oh, I got all this money. And you start blowing it. And then next year you broke again.
No, that's 100% a thing. And that's why a lot of people who win the lottery go bankrupt in just a few because, they're not sure how to go about spending that money or responsibly allocating it. So we're going to be talking about that today because, they say that if you don't know how to manage $10,000, how can you manage $1 million? So
right.
About some actionable, tangible things that you can do starting today. And yeah, let's just get all up in it because I'm excited.
Okay.
Yes, I have our little doc here. Let's see. All right, so the first question that I want to tackle is, what are some misconceptions that you hear in regards to building wealth?
I have a whole list of them, honestly. Number one being is that you have to make a lot of money to even think about building wealth. And that's not true at all because you can start investing with fractional shares for as low as $5 or even $1. It's whatever you're comfortable with. And also, you don't have to make a lot of money to create multiple sources of income, which is one of the keys to building wealth. So I think that's one of the huge misconceptions I hear. Also, people like to say, I'm going to wait until I'm debt free. And you're losing valuable time that your money could be working for you while you're waiting to be debt free. Like I did this whole math equation breakdown for my audience one day because I'm like, y'all are going to wait till debt free. You're debt free to Lord, wait till you're debt free me to death. And it just doesn't make sense mathematically, especially if you have the goal to build wealth in the long run. So those are the two biggest misconceptions that I hear.
I love that. I agree too. I think that you have to start from somewhere. So like in order to make money, a lot of people think you need a whole lot of money to start, but like you said, fractional shares. And I love that today, like you're calling in from, or you're streaming from the States and I'm streaming from Canada. So you have a lot of American resources and I have some Canadian references as well. So before, Canadians actually, we had 0 options to fractional share up until this year.
Really?
Girl, yes. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we just didn't have that option. But now we have that option with, oh shoot, Wealthsimple. Yes.
Uh-huh.
I haven't used Wealthsimple in the longest because I started using Questrade, but Wealthsimple has just introduced that. And I think it's absolutely brilliant for people who want to maybe invest in Tesla, but you don't have a few hundred. Maybe you want to invest $100 into Tesla. You have the option with Wealthsimple. So it's not sponsored, honey. It's not sponsored by Wealthsimple or anything. Just if you're calling from Canada, that's an option. And in the States, what's the option? Robinhood?
You have pretty much all of the major platforms allow you to fractional share now, do fractional shares. So you have apps like Stash, Robinhood, Webull, but then you also have like Fidelity, E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab. Like the major players are getting into the fractional shares, or they're renaming them to something like slices. But for the most part, they're letting everybody invest with whatever they have.
I love that. I love that. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard. Oh, I'm just reading the chats. Y'all heard that you can do fractional shares with almost every provider. So yes. What would you say are some challenges or fears, if any, that you had and had to overcome before you started?
Well, I'm not even gonna say before I started, because it's an ongoing journey of fears and things that I have to overcome to get to the next level. And one of the number one fears when I first got started is, oh, I'm too young, or I was too young. I have had people tell me, like when I started my business, that, oh, you're, 20 something, you're young 20 something. No one's going to listen to you about finance. So that put me off for a while, because I'm like, maybe I am too young, but I'm like, no. Eventually you realize that time is one of the greatest assets that you have. And then also I've had to get over like past experiences, like in traumas. We tend to not realize how much our past can affect how we deal with our finances. If we have poor financial habits, it's oftentimes, especially if you've had traumatic experiences, is because that's how you cope, with whatever you've gone through. So for me, I've had to go to therapy. I've had to write down who I want it to be, who I'm going to show up as, so I can actually reach my financial goals, and then not let anybody get into my head. I'm the most stubborn person, or one of the most stubborn people that you're ever going to meet. And you're going to have a hard time convincing me that I can't do something at this point in my life.
I love that you even, you mentioned that going to therapy component, because so many of us, I don't think a lot of people realize how much of your financial habits today have to do with how you grew up. That fear of going back to, let's say you didn't grow up with much money and now you have money. It's the fear of going back to that. So maybe the way you move with your finances is still operating from a scarcity mindset. So
yes,
you mentioned that. And also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And one of the thought processes that people have, like I hear often, is, oh, if I had to start from scratch, my kids can start from scratch too. It lets them build character. And that's one of those traumatic experiences that we're, passing down, because you've gone all of your life with, essentially nothing. And you want your kids to have that same experience, but you dress it up as it builds character.
No. My kids are going to be trust fund babies. And
yes.
I'm very okay with that. But I agree, because when I was younger, actually, I think maybe in my teenage years or like early college, I used to say that, like, yeah, I want my kids to grow up in the hood so that they're not as sheltered as my friends. Because I was born like in the hood, and then I moved when I was about 11. So I got the friends who were, had to grow up really early. And then I had my friends who were very sheltered and privileged, had the silver spoon in their mouth. And I used to say, oh, I'm going to make sure that my kids grow up in the hood so that they're not as sheltered as my friends from the suburbs. Wow. Very
Yeah.
naive mindset. Because why would I do that? And if my kids are living,
Right.
that means I have to go back to where, it all started. And there's a reason why we're progressing and trying to move forward, right?
Right. Like our job is to take the financial baton further and let the next generation build upon what we've done. And if you haven't done anything, your generations to come are just going to be at ground zero all the time.
Absolutely. Completely agree. I want to talk actionable, tangible steps though. If someone gets paid today, what are some things that you would say they should do right away before they start spending a dime of their paycheck?
First off, you need to have like a decent and thorough budget like in place so you know where your money is supposed to go. Because oftentimes what I come across is people are winging their finances every single time. Every time they get paid, oh, I don't know where my money's going. Well, if you had a budget in place that'll tell you where your money's supposed to go and how it's supposed to go there, you won't have as much financial bleeding. So start there. And then get into the habit of also paying yourself first something. So even if you are starting off with, putting $5 into your savings account and $5 into your brokerage account, we have to get out of the habit of, I'm going to pay everybody else first and then live off the crumbs. No, it needs to be, vice versa. Like Kanye said, I'm always spending it before I get it. And we don't want to do that because oftentimes that leads us into like a negative financial cycle. And then also, once you have your budget in place, once you've paid yourself first, also make sure that you have funds set aside to allow you to have fun. You've worked 40 plus hours a week. You better be able to enjoy your money some way, shape, or form. There's so many people out here that say that if you're not where you want to be financially, you don't have the luxury to have fun, or you don't have the luxury to go eat out and do what you like to do. But my thing is, my thing is, if you aren't allowed to play, your financial discipline will sway one way or the other because it feels like a chore.
Ooh, I like that. If you aren't able to play, your financial, what will sway?
Discipline.
Yes, honey. I like that. Aren't able to play, your financial discipline will sway. I like that. And I agree. Like, you can't wait to have fun after you build a certain level of wealth. Like, life will literally pass you by if you're just like, oh, I can't do that right now. Like, I don't have money. I like that idea to have money set aside that is just for playing, and then things that go towards your bills and stuff are separated as well. And I love that concept of paying yourself first, because that's a new concept to me. I want to say, like, within maybe the last year or so, or 2 years, I finally understood what that meant. But how would you break that down more, like, to someone who's hearing that for the first time? How do you pay yourself first when you have bills and you have debt and things like that? What does that mean?
So it all for me boils down to how you structured your budget. Like I teach my clients the 40-30-20-10 method. So, and before I break it down all the way, I just want to say that it is just a guide. If your finances don't match it to a T, it's perfectly okay. It's just a guide. But no more than 40% of your monthly income is going towards your mandatory expenses. So that includes, the roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on the table, and all of your minimum payments to your creditors, because that is a legal obligation. And then you have 30% going towards saving and investing, 20% going to debt repayment, and then 10% going to fund. And if you have your numbers broken down and you have a thorough and complete budget, you know how much money is supposed to be going towards your mandatory expenses. So if you already know where your money is supposed to go initially, it'll be easier for you to say, okay, before I pay my mortgage this month, or before, I pay this debt this month, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put, my 10% or my 15% into my savings account and my brokerage account, and then pay everybody else afterwards.
Love that. So it's the 40-30-10 rule. Is that the rule that you use? 40-30-10?
40-30-20-10.
40-30-20-10. And where would you, because what system do you use to actually calculate that? I know I have the spreadsheet, and that's what I used to use to and from time to time, honestly, a good old Excel spreadsheet is what makes me feel most comfortable, because I'm comfortable with Excel, and that's just like my software of choice. But what would you recommend? Do you say pen and paper is better, Excel's better? Is there a specific software or app? What would you say?
So I'm glad that you love Excel, because even all the years of taking Excel classes, it's just, I can't do it. I can't. For me, I am a pen to paper girl.
Honestly. You can't be an accountant without having to body Excel at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a pen and paper girl. And because of how my brain works, when I write things down, it forces me to remember things. It forces me to kind of hold myself accountable, because I can't say, oh, I looked over this number because I was looking at an app or something and the app did it for me. No, I have to literally go through my bank statements, my credit card statements, my business bank accounts, and write down everything. So I know, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be looking at. And then, do the math from there. I have to do everything on pen and paper. If not, it's just going to go to heck for me.
Okay, so you use a pen and paper, you go through your credit card statements and you just write everything out and then take a calculator and add everything up at the end.
Yes. So I base everything off of what is supposed to, like what my mandatory expenses are versus what our monthly income is. And when I have those figures, it's easier for me to break the rest of the budget down.
Love that. Love that. We love starting big and breaking it down into smaller, actionable steps. D Young, I love that. She said, I have a feminine fund that I use to pay myself first, like nails, travel, whatever I want to do. We love
I love that.
Love
yes.
that. Can't put that on the back burner now. Another question that I have is for someone who is just getting started. What are some actionable tips that you would have for them? Like, what are some things that they can just start today if they want to get better with their finances and they're looking to increase their wealth, get out of debt? Like, what are some things that you would recommend they could start today?
So like what you can literally start when we get off this live is write out your financial goals first. Write out your top 5 and then figure out what is it that you have to do for you to feel financially fulfilled out of all of that, all of your goals. Once you figure out what goal is your priority, now you need to create action steps for those goals. So what is it going to take for you to reach that goal? So let's say, for example, your major goal is that you want to have $10,000 saved by the end of next year, and you're going to start in January. Okay, cool. So it's like how I break it down is I tell my clients to create like a mock English paper outline. So you have your major goals and then you break down the baby steps, and then your major goal and then break down the baby steps. So if you know that you want to save $10,000 by the end of the next year and you're going to start in January, the major goal is saving $833.33 a month. Okay. Now, in order for you to do that, what are you going to have to do? Are you going to have to break it up every paycheck? Are you going to be able to do a lump sum? Are you going to have to increase your income in order to reach that goal? So it's starting off with the big goal first and then breaking it down to digestible action steps, because if they're not digestible and they're not baby steps, what happens is people get overwhelmed and they say, oh, building wealth is not for me, or it's impossible. But oftentimes it's just they bit off more than they can chew.
Love that. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Cut your coat according to your size. So starting off with like what your goal is and then break that up into actionable steps or like smaller goals.
Yes. And then break those smaller goals down further so they're more digestible.
Yeah. Something that I did with my brother, I'm not trying to, put his business out on Front Street, but some time ago, we just started breaking up like each paycheck. He didn't have a specific goal. So maybe you don't have a specific goal in mind. Maybe you're not trying to buy a house in the near because he's like pretty young, or maybe you just want to pay off your credit cards, or it's a very, it's not a specific money goal, but you just want to get better. I think the opposite could work. So we just started breaking down his paychecks. Like, okay, typically you get paid this much. How are you going to allocate it so that you have long-term savings, you have short-term savings, and then your bills are still paid, so that whenever that goal does pop up, whenever that happens, you have at least your bucket of money that you've saved for long-term savings, even if you haven't defined a specific goal that you have yet.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't think everyone has financial goals necessarily. Not everyone's like, I want to buy a home in the next 10 years, or I want to be debt free. Some people are like, I mean, I work every day, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I want to get better, but it's hard to specify that. So I think that's something that you can start doing too if you don't have specific goals. So if you do have a specific goal, go AttiQuewa's route where you start off with the goal, break it down. If you don't have specific goals, start off with what you're making now and then kind of build it up. Love. And we kind of thought it'd be cool to answer some questions as well. So
yes,
heading to the live chat over here. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop it so that we can start answering some specific questions that aren't necessarily, that we haven't maybe tackled yet. But what are some things, as we wait for some more questions to come in, AttiQuewa, that you would say for someone who's looking to build their wealth? What are some things that they need to know?
So you need to know, first of all, that leaving all of your money into a savings account is not a smart thing to do. On top of inflation being what it is, and on top of banks paying you pennies for the hundreds and thousands of dollars you might have sitting in your account, that's not the best thing to do. Start learning, basic investment terms so you can get familiarized with the idea of investing for the long term and even short term if that's what you want to do. I think it'll be great for people to start. Well, first of all, I think if anybody has the goal of building wealth too and leaving an inheritance, everyone needs to have life insurance.
Great.
A lot of people will say, oh, I'll wait till I'm older when I have a family and when I'm married. And it's just like, no, start now. Start when you're young, when you're healthy, because life insurance will be a lot cheaper than you waiting until your 30s and your 40s and your 50s. And if you don't have any kids, you can, have your parents be your beneficiary, or you can have, your nephews be your beneficiary, or even a charity, and you can always change it later, but always establish life insurance as young as possible. That is one of the greatest wealth builders that we can have for our family and have for our legacy.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard of the making your beneficiary a charity. I think that's so great. That's philanthropy at its finest, still giving back even when you're gone. Like, yes. Love that. I absolutely love that. We have a bunch of questions coming in. Love this. Keep bringing them in, y'all. And yes, Jane, this live will be saved. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. Before we start, actually, no, let's just go on in. So how do you continue the journey when you aren't seeing progress?
Ooh. I think you have to first define what you mean when you say you're not seeing progress. Is it that you're not seeing growth fast enough for you, or everything is just staying the same? Because the two paths of action are going to be different. If it's just not moving fast enough, you need to be patient, because wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. You can only do so much with what you currently have. So be patient with yourself and give yourself some grace. If you're not seeing progress, meaning like you're still in the same financial position, then you might need to do an audit of your habits, audit of your finances, see how you've been spending your money, see how you can, make some shifts so you can start seeing progress. Because it's either we're being impatient or we're not doing as good, like on the habit side, as we think we are.
I love that. Love that, love that, love that answer. Another question came in asking, how do you deal with financial guilt? Like not feeling like, or I guess, how do you deal with the financial guilt? Which be like not feeling like you're not making the progress fast enough, which is similar to the last question we have from Love Flower.
Yes. With the added,
Oh, sorry. I was just saying the question was mainly about financial guilt.
Gotcha. So I think, you also have to define what your progress level is. What are you comparing your progress to? Are you trying to keep up with someone else? Because you don't know their entire situation. You don't know how long they've been on their own journey. If you are looking on social media and you see, oh, this person, made $15,000 this month. I've only made $5,000. I'm not moving fast enough. Who said? To whose standard, right? You have to get into the habit of coaching yourself on staying in your own lane, because you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And if you're comparing yourself to people on social media or even in your inner circle, you're not getting the full picture. They're only telling you and showing you what they want you to know and what they want you to see. So I want you to kind of just focus on your progress of where you started today and then where you are tomorrow and then where you are the day after that. Don't look at your other lanes. When you're looking at other lanes while you're on your own journey, you are bound to crash and burn, because you're always going to try to keep up with someone when that's not your position.
Yeah, especially on social media, because it legit is a highlight reel and you don't have any idea what people's true financial standing is outside of social media. So please don't do that. And I think to also add to what you said, give yourself grace as well. On your financial journey, because it took you quite a few years to get to where you are currently. So it's going to take you quite a few years to build the wealth also. And I think sometimes even those of us who reach a certain level of financial wealth, we feel like, all the generations after us have to have this amazing quality of life. And it's like, we're a product of a generation before us too, and a generation before them. So just give yourself grace to understand that, like, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to learn from them. And this entire thing is called a journey for a reason. It takes time. It's not just like overnight cookie cutter, as many YouTube ads would like to tell you otherwise.
Yes.
Like telling you could become a millionaire today. It doesn't really happen like that.
No.
It takes time. So give yourself grace to make your mistakes and learn from them. Another question is, how do you get out of the habit of spending too much on credit card, like I'll worry about that after mindset?
So in my coaching group, one of the activities that I have my ladies do is go back 90 days to 6 months of their expenses. Because those numbers that you're going to total up is going to be a shock. Because you can realize, in the last 6 months, I spent $10,000. That could have been money going towards paying off my car all the way finally. That could have been money that I used for my dream vacation in the next year or so. I think when you give yourself perspective by checking yourself, it'll reframe your mindset, because no one can check you the way that you can check you, and no one knows your goals the way that you do. So you kind of just have to get into the habit of cussing yourself out. That's what I do when I'm not doing right. Like, you have to be able to have real conversations with yourself about, what you want, and if your actions are lining up with what you're trying to do and who you're trying to be. And if it's not, your action steps. It's either you do it or you don't.
I like that. And also maybe get into the habit of like comfortably being frugal anyways, like not getting into the habit of spending money just cause. And like over time, if that's just it just comes natural to you to be like calculated with your money, then even if you do splurge those one-off times, it doesn't set you back too much, because like, you're naturally frugal with other things. And frugal is not a bad word, guys. It's the F word. That's good. That's a good F word. Frugal is not a bad word. I'm so comfortably frugal. I'm so bougie and frugal at the same time. I love it.
Yes, me too. Like, I was telling my husband, I was like, I'm not really into the big name brands and stuff. As long as it's, good quality, I can wear it for, more than one time without the strings popping out. Like, I'm good. I don't need, the name brands. I'll comfortably go to a thrift store and have no shame about it, like, at all.
100%. Because why spend money that you don't even like? Why spend money on something you don't even care for? To keep up with who?
Exactly.
Who's in my bank account? Like, girl. But okay. Another question: how do you stay consistent with your budgeting? Like starting off, like she said, Adesha said she'll start it and then keep up with it for a bit and then eventually fall off. Any tips there?
Yes. So set yourself up like on a weekly money date. So Sundays for me are like my planning times where I plan how I want my business to look for the week and then also go through what finances should look like for the week. So set yourself up on a money date, block off your calendar, put the kids away, and just sit down and actually have a date with your finances so you can kind of get intimate with what your numbers are. And when you get into the habit of sitting down with your finances on a weekly basis, you build that lifestyle of, oh, I'm actually looking at my budget. I'm looking at my numbers. They say it's 21 days to create a habit and 90 days to create a lifestyle. And if you can set yourself up on a challenge, like challenge yourself to say, okay, 21 days, I'm going to be looking at my budget at least every morning before I go to work. And then after 90 days, okay, I'm going to look at my budget every morning and every night. So I make sure that I have been on task with my finances. Like it doesn't have to be anything long drawn out. A good 5 minutes, in the morning or in the evening is all that you need to create that lifestyle if you can keep it up. So, put it in your calendar, your alerts, get an accountability partner that can be your significant other or your friends. And if you won't want them to be your accountability partner, don't get mad when they check you when you're falling off, okay? So those are a couple of tips that you can use to stay on top of your budget and stay consistent with it.
Yeah, I like that tip of having an accountability partner because once again, bringing me back to my brother, when we were trying to get him right with his money, like maybe straight out of high school, no one was really on him like that. We would just tell him like, maybe this is how you spend it, da, 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 da. But it wasn't until like I started being on him as his accountability partner and constantly telling him like, oh, you just got paid this week. Oh, you're supposed to send me this much because I was taking care of his like long-term savings, right? So he would send it to me. I'd invest some for him, save some for him, but he knows like obviously he can trust me, right? I'm not gonna steal from my brother. And so he'd literally have to send it to me. And like a Friday would come, I had that alarm on my phone, that reminder, and I would hit him up like, hey, you got paid, didn't you? Like you need to send some money my way to save for you. So I really, really like having that accountability partner too, because some days you're just not gonna feel like it. And that person will come in and check you and be like, hey, we're supposed to be doing something here.
Right.
They will not let you fall off. So I like that. And we'll take maybe 2 more questions before we wrap up so that we're not on here for all night. Here we have, what are some good ways to increase one's income for someone who wants to have financial freedom?
So we live in a time where you can literally print money from your phone, and I mean legally, okay? Like you can go online and literally monetize what you know, or find a skill and then monetize what you know. Start off with what is it that you're good at, or what is it that you enjoy, right? I always use this example of furniture flipping because it's so intriguing to me. And that's like one of my hobbies when I have the time is upcycle furniture. But people are literally making a killing by finding old furniture on the side of the road in front of people's houses, taking it home, cleaning it up, and selling it. And of course, making it look nice. And I use the example of, okay, if you already do this, or if you're going to do it, why not record your process and then package that process and sell it? And you can do that with essentially anything that you are good at. It doesn't have to be anything like life-changing or, I'm going to save the world type deal, but there are people who want to know what you know. So you can start increasing your income by monetizing what you know. You can also increase your income, like if you're a 9-to-5 worker, by asking, hey, can I get a raise? I think we're in an economy right now where a lot of employees have more power than what they initially did because there are a lot of vacancies. So a lot of people are doing 2 to 3 people's jobs for the price of one. And you can go up to HR, your manager, be like, listen, I need a raise. That can be a way that you can increase your income that way. So definitely monetize what you know, and then also work with your HR department to see if you can get a raise some way, shape, or form.
Love that. Yes, we're in the resignation. They're calling it the Great Resignation right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of people's jobs have had to pivot. Job structures have started to change, and now you find yourself doing the role of like 3 different people because that there used to be people there fulfilling those roles and now they're gone. So maybe look into that as well if you do have a 9-to-5 job. And if you're looking for side hustles, y'all, I have a bunch of videos on side hustles. Asking me to do more side hustle videos, more side hustle videos. So look into that. The internet, it's different. It's so many different ways that you can make more money using the internet. So utilize that. One question is it smart to use your credit card to invest in your business plans?
So, oftentimes people have to rob Peter to pay Paul when they are, building their business. They're having to bootstrap it themselves because they don't have funding. Oftentimes people will take hits on the personal side to build their business because they know or they believe that it is going to be a great return on investment if they take the hits up front. On the financial side, I'm going to say, is there a way that you can find, the cash to do it? But if you can't have the cash, but you have capital or access to money on your credit cards, I'm torn because I'm going to say, of course, you have to do what you have to do. But then also don't get crazy with this unnecessary spending on your credit card. So for example, if you're running a digital business, you might not need to get the new tech right now. You might just really need to pay for the software to run your business. You might need to pay for good internet service. And then once you start creating income, then you can, get the fancy lighting set up and the fancy new tech and all that. Only get what you need on that credit card and then scale when you're making the income, if that makes sense.
I love that idea. I think when you're first starting out, do what you can responsibly with your own finances. But bootstrapping isn't necessarily the only route that you need to take. Look into, some grants and small business loans. Well, small business loans for a business that isn't established yet, it's number one, hard to get, and then also not always feasible. So I would say definitely look into those grants and look into venture capitalism as well. Like, are there some angel investors who are looking for a good opportunity? What kind of business are you trying to look into? So look into, I think, some ways to use other people's money, OPM, as Robert Kiyosaki would call it. But yeah, look into some grants, look into crowdfunding, look into investors, angel investors who have a lot of capital, who are looking for small businesses that they believe in to invest in and have their money work for them. So not only using your own money and your own credit, I think a lot of times in our communities, we think that's the only way to start a business, but there's a lot of other communities outside of our own who are starting businesses with like literally none of their own money. So
yes. And then also, one of the things that I tell my audience is, let's say you are wanting to have a physical business, whatever it is. Starting a digital business, honestly, doesn't cost anything upfront. Like, you have free trials for 30 days. You have a lot of things that you can put time equity into, and you can literally use money from your digital sales to fund your physical business. There are ways to get creative for sure. Like Lynn said, there are other communities that you can reach out to so you can get the funding for your business. Just get creative, do what you can responsibly, and see what options fit your needs the best.
Yeah, especially when it comes to online business. That is a very, very valid point. I have a whole video on how to start a business with $100, because literally online business does not take it. It's not that much upfront capital that you need to start an online business.
No.
Shopify is like $29 a month. Okay. We have you can go to Vistaprint, and it basically drop shipping is another model you can use. You don't need a lot upfront. So
yes.
There is that. I think for the most part, the rest of the questions we kind of answered throughout the call. If you did arrive to the call late, the replay will be up and you can definitely catch that. Lachey just asked, when will the Good Girls Go Boss Society open again? And what tips would you give on how to manage your money and the money increases? So we gave some actionable tips on like managing your money. Society currently is closed, but if you just go to the website and add your email address to the website, you will be alerted as soon as we open it. It's not going to be this year. Unfortunately, it's closed for the year. The last launch we had was the last time it opened, but as soon as we reopen again and we have a new date for new members, you will definitely be alerted. So add your name to the waiting list there. And Miss AttiQuewa Green, thank you so much for joining us. If people wanted to reach you, I know you have a new YouTube channel, which is absolutely bomb.com, but where can everyone find you? Drop the YouTube, the Instagram, the website, the everything.
Okay. Well, I am on YouTube as ThatFinanceChick. I'm actually moving like my hub over to YouTube instead of Instagram, because I'm on Instagram as ThatFinanceChick as well. But I just created a text club. So you get to text me questions and you get notifications when I have like free live classes, which I'm actually getting ready to do one in about 33 minutes. So if you text #workshop to 201, and I'll add it down here.
I'll put it in the chats here.
Okay.
AttiQuewa at 201
258
58
3995
3995.
and include the hashtag so you get the link to the workshop happening tonight.
Okay, include what hashtag?
#workshop.
#workshop. Include #workshop. Okay. Text AttiQuewa, y'all. There we go. And it's in the chat. Ooh. All right, there we go. All right, so thank you so much for joining us, AttiQuewa. I really appreciate it. This was a nice, fun live that we got to do together and talk about money. Let us know, guys, if we should do this more often. Should we do some more lives, talk about some different things, some different topics? Let us know. But yes, this was lots of fun, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I always have fun when I come talk to y'all.
You're always a good time. Just over here, fabulous with her gorgeous hair and everything. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. I'll let you go get ready for the workshop. And if you guys wanted to join her workshop that she's having in about 30 minutes, text her at that number that I dropped in the chat. And yes, I'll see you guys in our next upload, probably this Sunday. So bye, y'all. And if you're in the society, see you on Saturday.